It's been a little while since I was here live with y'all, and I'm glad to be forward to return again. And I have a wonderful guest from the Rebirthing Breathwork community who I've had great conversations with and been able to fellowship with around the glories of one of our teachers, Leonard Orr, who has shared so many great insights and just ideas in my life, and I believe in hers too. And we've been able to build and add on these things, and we just wanted to have a conversation together to share some of what we might have experienced as valuable in our lives through contemplating abundance, contemplating prosperity and the life urge, and all the things that thrill us. So welcome, and Sermons Gillis, my wonderful. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Right, and Sermons Gillis. That's right, Jan. We have to both ask each other how to pronounce our names. We're best buddies in spirit, but we haven't had that much one-on-one conversation. We're virtual buddies.
Definitely, definitely, and it's been wonderful to have our rebirthing community have these little events where we've been able to get together and commune with some of the family that we might not have met through our in-person workshops and and the great transformative processes we've all experienced in that community, learning to breathe energy and to breathe abundance.
Absolutely. One of the first things that I learned about breathing was how it really can open us up to a more abundant life. And there was one time when I took a challenge, and that was to breathe for 1 hour during the connected breathing for 1 hour a day. And I did that for 30 days. And it definitely affected my income in a very positive way. As a matter of fact, that's a great idea. I should do that again.
Yeah, yeah. Let's make the breathing abundance challenge. Let's start it today.
Yeah, starting
Everyone,
today, 1 hour, 1 hour. Well, I better start tomorrow. I've allotted my breathing time. I've already done my meditation this morning,
yeah,
but
me too.
we get started. But I do really open my day in a very, I'm going to say, elementary way, because this is sort of like in the primer of prosperity. We start with affirmations. We start with inspiration. And when we first start, we're so excited and our minds are so malleable because we know stuff that works. We find out things that work, and then we get kind of jaded. I've been there, done that. But yet, right now, I am in the basics. I've gone back, so in the morning when I awaken, I do an affirmation, one after prosperity affirmation 20 times, and then I do another one 20 times. And it just helps me get the day started right. And it's so simple. It's so easy. It is primary. Many of us, I've been in the spiritual stuff. I just turned 74 yesterday. I think I had my first rebirthing in 1981. I started studying spiritual matters in the 60s when I was a teenager. And so I can get jaded. I can get, oh, I know everything. But, I can definitely say that simplicity is beautiful. And as a matter of fact, that is a Babaji saying, and that is, he says, truth, simplicity, and love. So do you have any ways that you go, with your prosperity? Do you use affirmations? Do you even think about it consciously when it comes to money? Or how do you manage it? Where is your mindset?
Affirmations are definitely a part of it, and like I'll put them into my songs. So I make music about uh, prosperity consciousness, so that those mantras can get stuck in my mind. I have a song called "The Four Laws of Wealth," so you know who I got that
Oh, yeah.
from Leonard, and it's like a lot of the affirmations mixed with my own variety of the affirmations. I have another song called "Money Follows," and it's Just do what you love and the money will follow, and love what you do and the money will follow. Uh, these thing these things I like to weave into music, and I also just have the just affirmations come to me. I'll go to the original ones from the money seminar and the prosperity consciousness consultation uh, as well, from Leonard, and a lot of the ideas I learned from Phil Lout. Or what's the other book? You have Money is My Friend, and
I
oh,
have to fill
and,
out, yeah. And then
and then Money Love. You know
Jerry
that one?
Jerry Gillis, yes.
Yeah. So those two are really solid books for just like getting my mind clear. Like they're way better than a lot of the prosperity consciousness books that I've read, but they're so unknown, it appears.
Well, I'd like to mention something, another book that has a spin on it, and this is called The Miracle Club. It's by Mitch Horowitz.
Yeah, I've seen that around.
Yeah, and Mitch, he goes back to the fundamentals, and he really legitimizes positive thinking. And I think that affirmations flow into the thought of a positive thinking, because positive thinking has been misused, and because it has been misused, a lot of people have thrown it out and said, no, it's no good. But what people don't realize is that we just haven't used it in the right context. Positive
Right.
thinking cannot be used for everything. It's just one of the tools. We
Mhm.
need to be able to effectively handle grief. We need to be able to handle, if there's a world event, well, I don't think we need to be just blasé about it. No, it's in divine order. I think we need to look at our hearts and say, this is tragic.
Mhm.
And one of my things is that even though things are tragic in the world, one way we can honor them is to really appreciate the advantages that we have in the current world.
Mhm.
We don't slough it off and say, oh, let's just forget about everybody else and be in the me story constantly. It's like, let's be in the we story, and also use what we know in terms of the law of attraction, money consciousness, and so forth, to make our lives work.
Definitely.
So do you
Yeah, the
go on?
people call it, what do they call it? Spiritual bypassing.
Great.
Like when you just turn everything, or purple. What I forgot some of the other names they have for it, but yeah, that's a very important thing we have to discern in our use of positive thinking, because oftentimes, like like for instance, the other day I made a post on Instagram, and uh, I said that I don't work for money. I play, I experiment, I communicate, I uh, engage with people or whatever. I serve people, and my income is generated. And some people got mad at me, and they said I was speaking from a place of privilege, and that well there's so many people that do have to work for money, and it's because I have this platform that that I I'm getting I'm able to make money, and I just saw that it's hard for people to see from different contexts. It's just a different context I'm seeing from when I decide to say I don't work for money. When I say that, because I'm playing, I'm learning, I'm doing something else, and then the money is secondary. But in their mind, just saying that, it sort of disturbed them to, and maybe I was a little, maybe it sounded smug, or like they were, like a couple people said, it was braggadocious, but I think it just triggered that that limiting thought in in people, because I was just giving thanks to God that I'm taken care of.
Well, Leonard talked about this, I think, Jan, when he talked about the parental disapproval syndrome. And that is, a lot of times we say something and then people take it on as we're an authority speaking like a parent. And then they want to rebel against it and find something immediately wrong with it without really examining it to the core.
Hmm.
So they, take misunderstanding and then use it as a weapon. It's one way to get revenge against our parents, and that is to project that on other people and then to attack them. And of course, it doesn't work. We're not getting the revenge on the parent that probably isn't even alive anymore.
Hmm.
And so you had a deep experience of that. Jan, when we were talking before about money, it seems like I remember that you were talking about some real different aspects of money. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like when we were talking about maybe prosperity, when we were getting into the etymology of these things, that may be some of it. Like you have uh, pro, which means for, in favor of, and you have sperity, which is the spirit. So even the word prosperity itself is directly pro spirit. That and it relates to that verse in the scriptures where it says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything will be added unto you." When you're first or pro spirit, everything is at your prosperity is added unto you. Uh, when I look into the etymology of money, like mono is one. The monad also, like when you go to a monastery, that's a place where you connect with the one God. And we have this word connected to money. And for many people, they'll be like, that's because people have made money their God. And that's the limited thinking from where I stand. From the expanded thinking, I see money as a well, where can I point to where God is not? I can't point to where the one isn't. So of course the one is also in money too. And so if we make money a spiritual experience, a pro spirit, a pro spirit experience from the get-go, then money is a spiritual experience, and we're not playing in this game of materialism. We're playing in a game of energy and love, receiving and giving.
That's wonderful. I love it. I have also heard the word money, as my own natural energy yield. I'm sure you've heard that as an acronym, money. And it's rather, I'm not going to say bodacious, but I'm going to say it's brave to talk about money because we've got all the people, a lot of people, I'm going to kind of backtrack, that get upset about money, often get upset. These are the people that have a regular job and they have a regular income and they say, "Oh, I don't even think about money. And I've got plenty of, why do you want to talk about money?" And it's like, okay, well, if they lost their job, then they may want to talk about money. They may want to talk about changing their minds. But for people that are entrepreneurs, then we have to keep that subject on our mind because we're constantly creating and inventing and allowing money to come in on a not known basis as opposed to getting a paycheck.
Right.
It's a very different consciousness. So I'm assuming that you don't get a paycheck.
The paychecks I get are just like from royalty companies for books or for music streaming, those type of checks. Checks for that don't come. Uh, they come at any given time, not necessarily every Friday. You know what I'm saying?
On a surprising basis.
Yeah,
I like that. Money on a surprising basis. And I'm surprised to get it. That's
yeah.
great.
I love it. I love it every time I see it.
Well, what attracted you to Leonard's prosperity teachings? What got you started with that?
Well, of course, I came in to the rebirthing just through breath and physical immortality. I definitely have considered both sides of the coin side, or of the coincidence called life or birth and death. And through considering them, I I realized that it does make sense that if thought is creative, why not think about eternally renewing my body? And and eternally playing in the physical world. And so as I was thinking about those thoughts, you can't do that. You can't eternally play in the physical world unless you have a world that is uh, ran by love and a freely flowing energy. It's gonna get stagnant in places. And right now, we it through observing the money systems, I've seen stagnation. I've seen stagnation in myself just through my own personal relationship with money. When I look at into the world, I've seen stagnation in the money systems, the way they're set up. So seeing how Leonard approached it, like through making uh, one of the things, once again, for people who's just joining us, when we say Leonard, we're talking about Leonard Orr. He's a great friend and teacher of ours. He developed something with the community called Babaji money, and I took it very. I'm not gonna say serious. I took it hilarious, and I took it sincerely.
Since
Uh, so I made sure to print them. And I actually printed so much on this good parchment paper that when I saw Leonard, I was able to trade him the money that he came up with for books that he's on a tour. I'm trading him his own. He's like, I actually need some of that Babaji money right now for my next workshop. I'll trade you. And so I was able to trade him and a lot of people for this currency that I printed. And through learning how to print, well, seeing it takes actual work to lay it out on a computer to go get it printed. There's actual work involved in making in making money, and that's why people don't do it. They let the Federal Reserve do it because people would rather be irresponsible and unaccountable. It comes down to the same thing we were just saying. People get a job, they just get a check, and they're okay. In the same way, we have even if we're creatives, we just get Federal Reserve notes, and that's it. Doesn't have to be that way, but we've sort of been conditioned to think that's the only type of money. And so seeing these wild ideas that Leonard, sparked in me, uh, just that help break the limitations we have around money. They say death and taxes are the only two things sure in life. And those, I wanted to make sure to challenge both of those with my life.
Well, thank you. Yes, I don't know if this book is still in print, but it's Leonard's book. It's called The Truth About Money, and it's Understanding and Mastering Money, the Four Laws of Wealth, Local Money Systems, Personal Prosperity and Success, and Government
Yeah.
Without Taxes. It may be that you can buy that online somewhere, but
Yeah, I got that one. Uh, but I don't know. It's going to be hard. But I actually, I'm putting a book out about money called Money Illumination, and I'm going to have that at the end of the book because in that book that you said that Leonard made, he said you could use it however you like to, distribute it however you like to, and because it's not in print, I think the ideas are so valuable that I need to put it in the back of this other book for people.
yeah, that's a great idea. I'm writing, I've got 2 books before I write my money book, and I've been putting that off for years, but I'm gonna do that once, myself. One of the things that attracted me to Leonard's teachings many years ago was really the fear of economic collapse. I thought, what would I do if the economy collapsed? How would I deal with it? And Leonard set out a clear path on how we could organize our neighborhoods, we could develop currency. And I just wonder if you have any thoughts on that. Let's just pretend that all of a sudden our financial system collapsed. What would you see as the steps that we take to rebuild a community and to make it through the times that this happened?
Well, that's a great question, and so Here's a New Hampshire goldback. It's a form of local currency. Ithaca as well makes their own local currencies. I don't know if they still have Ithaca notes, but it was a program going on. There's a lot of little places that make their own local currencies that are able to be exchanged for goods and services and ideas and products. So I think that's one of the things we need to do. I think that if it collapsed and there is a and we still have the electric grid in the internet available, that some of these cryptocurrencies are definitely a great option because I see them as a similar thing as the Babaji money. It's so similar in my mind. The the only there are major differences, uh, but I think many smart people have already began to make remedies within at least the digital world. Uh, and I do think those things are sort of misunderstood because we automatically uh, often people automatically associate cryptocurrency or digital currency with some sort of ability to track people or to control what's going on with people's currency and money. And actually, the opposite is true, even though that it is true as well that you can trace and track people through digital currency. Yes, but there are ways that it cannot be traced and tracked as well. And I think that cryptocurrency is a great option if these systems collapse, because there's a great deal of the population that understands the value of certain coins within the ecosystem of crypto. Now, there's also great chance that if society collapses, there's not going to be the ability to interact that way as well. So we need to have other things put into place, and the best option for my mind is local currency systems where people decide to print their own currency based upon their community, their uh, neighborhood, their county, their their state, their city, and somehow are able to distribute this and transact in this in a trustless way. But the only when I say trustless, I mean you don't have to trust that you're you don't have to believe or not that you're getting counterfeit. You don't have to believe that you're getting the real thing. It's just settled. You know you're getting the real thing, and that happens in cryptocurrency where you can actually uh, there's no way for a person to counterfeit the transaction. That's why I think it's a very powerful remedy. But once again, that remedy might not be the one for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, now, the reason I ask this question is not because I want to be a part of the consciousness that creates a breakdown of our economy. It's because I think that for me, my mind, and this was 30, 40 years ago, was going to the place where what if this happens? I mean,
Hmm.
there were always things that were coming up. I lived in Memphis and they predicted this huge earthquake, and there was Y2K that was only 22 years ago, but these different points, we had 2012 the Mayan prophecy, but there were different points when that question would come up, and rather than saying, oh no, let me not worry about it, it was like, well, what could I do? And Leonard's teachings are really good in just helping, I think, ease the mind, whether it happens or not. So when that
Right,
fear comes up, we can address it with something. There is something practical we can do.
for sure. And to just have those affirmations going now that so that we can have a momentum in the truth that we are sustained by the universe. We are taken care of by our breath. Like if we can really begin to trust that uh, in every cell of our being, then when the upheavals or downheavals happen, we're able to still trust because the cells are speaking the affirmation now. I think that's what I love about the breath is that on the inhale, it's active, it's energetic, it's that side that says I'm motivated, I'm inspired, and I can do. I'm a doer. And on the exhale, it's the letting go, the being taken care of, the allowing the universe and gravity to take care of us. The just that breath alone speaks the affirmation, speaks the prosperity affirmation of doing, not doing.
Taking action and letting go. Yes, I love that. Well, one of the things that science is now proving about affirmations that we didn't know many years ago, and that is the neuroplasticity of the brain. And that is that we can change the neuron paths. And one of the best ways to do that is through repetition. I know that you know, John, and I know too, and that is that affirmations have to be energetically tied to us. In other words, it's got to be something that's believable. Not that we believe it's happening now, but believable that it can happen or that it becomes more of a block than an opening for us. Do you have anything to say about affirmations when they don't work for us and when they do work for us?
Well, they're like, uh, so I wrote a book about the Necheru, the rebirth of the Necheru, the gods of Egypt. And one of them is Ma'at. Ma'at is the goddess of truth and justice and order. But she's the goddess of truth and law as well, because she holds the scales. That's where you get the scales of the law from. And then you have, so when we say affirmation or affirmative, the word ma'at is in there. So I like to think about, and this is just my fun way of playing with words because words are a play. They're all illusions, and if you could play with them so that they work for you, great. So affirm is like to form, a form of ma'at. Affirmative is to affirm ma'at, and so that's to form your law, to form your personal laws. And so every time that we are saying yes, that's how the world works, yes, this is how it is, we're affirming my we're affirming the law in our particular in that particular area in our life. And it can be done for good, it can also be done for harm, where we keep thinking, I can't stand this, I can't, you know, cancel clear. I cancel that out right now. But even just saying that can make you have walking problems, or make you have problems in make one have problems in their legs or in their knees. Uh, we got to be careful about how we use our affirmations.
Yes, our words do have power, energy, mass. Well, yeah, I'm thinking about this video that I recently listened to about words, actually information not being atomic matter, but it doesn't have that information can move quickly because it's not bound by space and time. And so when we start talking about words and thoughts and emotions, all those things get kind of called up because they have a similarity. Like a diamond has so many facets, then words, thoughts, and emotions have are facets of the same consciousness. I do think that words have their positive and negative side. It's like a prayer. You know, if we say a prayer and we just go something like "Our Father who art in heaven," and we say it every day, and it has not, we have no connection to it whatsoever. There is no value to it. But I do remember the story of a man who went to a master and he wanted to know, he said, "I need to learn from you, master." And the master said, "Our Father." And the man ran and he came back 3 years later and he said to the master, he said, "That was the most amazing teaching." He said, "I'm ready for the next part." And so just the two words of the prayer just illuminated his life. And so words do have that light and dark side. The Sanskrit word for that is matrika shakti. I think the word in the West would be logos. But matrika shakti, and you probably know this, is the power of the word to create what it is speaking about. And I have written a book, Words Make a Difference. And in that, I do um, talk about the power of words. And I will say that words want to be expressed and they put themselves together in a way. And you said, like, you have these affirmations that just come to you.
Mhm.
Those are words that want expression. They want to be
Right.
lived out. They're ideas that are floating in the astral realms that want to come out. That I've written, I wrote a child's book. I'm not even a child's book writer, but you know, this boy says, "Do you want to write a book?" And a child's book. And I sat in the kitchen and I wrote this wonderful book of magic out of it because these words wanted to be expressed.
Mhm.
So while words are separate from the actual object and they're not the actual object, they do have value and relevance in terms of being aware, being prosperous, abundant in our abundant nature. They do have their place. We just have to, again, know they're not the gods. They're something that are informing and serving us if we allow them to.
That's it. That's it. And like when I look at etymology, etymo means truth in Greek, and then log is the logos that you were just speaking about. So when we do in logos is also when Jesus said, "I am the Word." Remember, he said, "I am the logos," and so Jesus also said he's that Word. And so we're talking about the truth. I, etymolog. Some people say it's the study of truth, because the logi at the end is the study of, and the etymo is the truth. Now, according to what we just said, the words themselves, those aren't. That's not the thing itself. That's not the truth itself. And so, if etymology is the study of truth, that's why it's the study of truth, because when you go to the origin of all words, you can see that they're not the truth. That and that's how you can get to the truth, is by learning how to go beyond the words themselves to the essence. uh,
There's so many aspects of that. For example, if we look at a Rembrandt and we're looking at the painting, and I don't even know what he painted, but let's just say that this Rembrandt is a pastoral scene. He probably didn't even do this. But we could look at that and we could study it and we could meditate on it and we could contemplate on it, and we might be taken to a different world. It would inspire us, it would give us something. And of course, it's not the pastor, it's not the field. It's not any of that, but it invokes in us something very powerful. And that's the way the words are. The words can be painted in our hearts, just like a picture, and they can inspire us and really inoculate us with the truth. So we don't throw words away. We learn how they become the servants of life and the purveyors of truth. And so that's why they're different aspects, because what you say is absolutely true. Until we know that the word is not the thing, even the thought is the same thing. We have to learn that the thoughts that we have are not who we are. You know, we identify with those thoughts and we get very caught up in words. So I think it's important to understand all the aspects of what words can do and what they cannot do.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Now I'm going to bring up something that is a little different, and you may not have gotten into this, but years ago, I read a book, I think it was by Harold Sherman, and in the back of it, he talked about parallel universes. And I'm thinking that that would be the same thing as multiple simultaneous existences. And I've noticed that in the spiritual narrative that this has kind of come back, and people are talking about it. And I had always thought about the possibility that we might be able to, when we're saying affirmations or we're doing our mental work, that what we might be doing is just bleeding over into another reality. We think it's the law of attraction, but it's really bleeding into a reality where that possibility has already happened. And I wonder, have you
Mhm.
been looking at any of those ideas about parallel universes and maybe how we might get involved with those, and in terms of bringing more prosperity and love and any energy into our lives?
Yeah, I've even heard a similar concept as like uh, parallel timelines, or even different timelines is ways that it's expressed, where when you begin to hold a certain frequency that's more uh, resonant with the frequency of this other timeline, that you end up over there. Or it's the same thing like the parallel dimension or universe, in that when you're in there, it's gonna be a lot. It appears like there's totally different uh, types of experiences, even different possibilities, different facts in these realms. I think that getting there is is usually, I always come to the breath as the basis, because it seems like it's the portal. Like if I look at a bird and watch how a bird breathes, or look at a turtle and watch how a turtle breathes, and mimic their breath, I'll begin to somehow be able to understand their consciousness, how they view a little more, if I'm mimicking their breath. And then in the same way, it's like I'm being transported to their dimension through my breath. And I think that's how we do it to other to other dimensions, and or other timelines, is by the first entry is through a breathing rhythm that's that is somehow resonant with the frequency of that dimension or timeline.
Well, following what you said, maybe when we have a past life memory, if we have a flash, what we may not be having a memory, but we may be flooding over into that other time when we actually are existing as that.
Because all time happens now as well as then and after.
And I'm wondering how this could be an opening for prosperity, how we might have an opening for ideas or creativity. And you speak to the breath as how you see that breath is opening in. Do you have
Well,
any ideas?
how would we see ourselves breathing? How would the breath feel to us in as a multimillionaire? Like, is there a way to think about or imagine what the breath would feel if I was a multimillionaire, or whatever? How would you feel if whatever your financial goals, on the moment you realize that it's met, how would your breath be at the time?
For a lot of people, I think that the answer for that, even though that probably was a rhetorical question, and that is that they would receive this sense of relief. You know how when we go, when there's this release, I think that
So the breath
when I've
release.
had a burden lifted off of me, whether it was financial or other different things, and there is this relief in my breath. That's because I had one time I had a long time ago when we had dot matrix printers, I was trying to print something out and I was trying to be so cool. Maybe it was a spiritual bypass. And I was saying, it's okay, I'll get it done. I had a time limit there. And finally, after maybe an hour late in the night of working with this, I got it working and I had this big sigh of relief. And until I experienced that, I was telling myself to be cool and everything was okay. And generally it was. But that breath allowed me to know that at a subconscious level, I was carrying a sense of worry. And
Mhm.
so maybe we
That
could
I
invoke that sense of that relief, which is like it's different. There's the breath where we go, and there's a sense of glory, and then there's this which I call that the hard aholic breath, HARD, and that is it's the suffering breath. That's the martyr breath. So I'm talking livening breath where we're going, that we just let go.
so all of those are great observations that happen in our lives because we work with the breath, which is the foundation of how our mind is working, how our body's working, how our relationships are working. It's definitely fundamental, or could be the most fundamental. Like I don't know what position I'm in to say that, but it does seem like it's the foundation of our life. So I do think that just observing our breath, how is our breath moving when we feel most impoverished or most lacking, most scarce, and to recognize that, like sort of how we do with the affirmations, where we take the negative responses we have to an affirmation and examine it so we could change that negative response into a positive affirmation. In the same way, we find the negative response breath that isn't feeling ideal, that might be feeling anxious, that might be feeling just less than the best. We find what might be the resistance in that breath and we address it. And it's not as, you can't do it verbally. You have to do it by going for it, by going for the experience. And that's why I think like images like yin and yang, or Shakti and Shiva are are so helpful for me with the breath, because we want it to flow. We don't want to be so aggressive and then never have the release and relief and the chill and the letting go. And we don't want to just be so chill that you can't even really feel your breath. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You're not even hardly alive because you're hardly breathing. You need both sides of it, the active and the passive, the yin and the yang, yang and the yin. And I think doing that practice, it helps get us outside of the mind. Like Esther Hicks, she said it really good. Like if you just connect the breath, or Abraham Hicks, one of them, both of them, they said that if you connect the breath really good, just just breathe in, breathe out. That's what she was saying. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. You just keep doing that. Eventually, that's all you could focus on. If you're really focused on breathing in and just breathing out. And if you do that, then you step out of the way of the negative thoughts of the mind, because all your focus is going on just breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And when you can step out of that, the negative limitations of the mind, then that neuroplasticity for experiencing more prosperity. We're in a state where it's easier to be grateful. I guarantee you, anyone who's listening right now, if you just connect the breath, for like 30 seconds, then you're gonna look around and be like, yo, I sort of am grateful for some things.
Yes, the breath is so powerful. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about it in a different way in terms of mindfulness and in Buddhism, and that is that he'll say, "I'm aware that I'm breathing in a short breath. I'm aware that I'm breathing out a short breath." And what I find out is that when I bring awareness to my breath, yeah, I've got that book. Yes, that I automatically, when I bring awareness to the breath, what I automatically do is take a deeper breath, and it's not efforting. I don't have to say you need to breathe deeper. It's just that awareness has this intelligence that provides what we need in the moment, and if we keep moving in awareness, then we're getting signals from our body as to what it needs. The body is intelligent, it's wise, and it is nurturing to us if we will allow it to be that way. It does take awareness,
It's
I
so
think.
real.
Yes, I'm sitting here breathing and noticing my breath as you talk about breath because it is so powerful. How did you get interested in the breath work in the beginning? How did that come about?
Uh, it came about through I read a book called Heal Thyself by Queen Afua, and it talked about Egyptian yoga. So I was in high school, and so then I went into another bookstore and I saw a flyer talking about Egyptian yoga. So I called the flyer, and homie answered and was like, "Yeah, if you're only 15, come for on scholarship for free, and you could just do the yoga here, and if I need help with anything, just help me out." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I started doing that, and that was just pranayam. And so I was really, when I first found Leonard's books, like maybe a 3 years, 4 years after that, or when I was around at 18th level or so, 19th level, I started to try to do the breath that he would talk about in his books, but I didn't really get it too much, Uh, I because I was so used to controlling my breath, especially that exhale. Like that exhale was, you try to slow it down. People try to be so cool in yoga by just doing some weird automated process. And there's benefits for it. I'm not gonna lie. There's benefits for using a certain regimen and technique and ratio of inhale to exhale, of course. But the juice was found for me when I went out to Sierraville with Leonard for Return to the Sacred, and uh, Heike got breath work from Heike, got breath work from Alfredo, breath with Leonard, breath with, and then Leonard came to the crib, and I did it more, and just kept learning from that. For me, it was really, it took people showing me that it's about letting go more and about letting the breath breathe for me. Uh, and since then, I've loved all breathing techniques, but connected breath has been uh, the foundation of my breath teaching because I find it most natural when I look at the way a stream moves. It doesn't stop. Stream don't stop. When I look at the way the water moves to the shore and moves away from the shore, where's the movement stop? It doesn't stop. People always wanna preach. No, there's a small moment of withholding between the incoming and outcoming breath, and I'm telling them, hey, go to the shore and you tell me where it stops moving.
Deepak Chopra does talk about the gap. That's for sure. I have
And
noticed.
there's benefits in the gap too, but consciously done.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I watch my breath and that I'm not necessarily trying to do any breath, but it's just a breath awareness that it doesn't continue like the rebirthing breath. In other words, it's a breath in and a breath out. And then often it's a space. It'll be a breath in and breath out, a space, maybe breath in and breath out, a space. And then there'll be a really long breath. And then there'll be a space. It's like my body is saying, okay, we need more. And it does it automatically, this big breath in. And that's sort of like Leonard's 20 breaths, which is 4 short
Yeah.
and 1 long. But the body tends to, I notice my body does that automatically. I had been judging that gap because I think, well, I want to do a continuous breath,
Yeah.
like the rebirthing. But if I am just aware of that breath, it is usually not continuous. There's a spot where I don't breathe. But I'm like you, I'm wanting to watch it more than control it.
That's it. That's that's the point. So there's great benefit in any breath we do that's conscious. There's great benefit in any breath we do that's unconscious because it's keeping us alive. But if we put a consciousness there, we're able to receive the biofeedback, and it's just the more present we are with whatever we're doing. Like one breath I really like that is withholding on both sides is box breathing. You breathe in for 4, suspend the breath in for 4, breathe out for 4, suspend the breath out for 4.
Yeah, one of my yoga teachers taught me that same breath, but
Oh no, we lost it.
maybe lost my connection.
Hey, good to see you again.
Yeah, so here we are back. But yes, those conscious breath, the pranayama, I guess any breath that we count is called pranayama, which is a conscious breath where we count. And so are we going to do this breathing challenge? Are we going to do an hour a day
I
for 30
think
days?
so. I think a
Challenge,
breathing abundance challenge or the breathing prosperity challenge.
prosperity
Yeah.
breath challenge. Yes, so we're going to offer that. So today is the 10th. And so we go from the 11th on for 30 days. But if somebody's watching and they're not watching this until after this, they can start on whatever day it is. And maybe you can just suggest what kind of breath. We can do an awareness breath. We can do a conscious breath. Do you have any suggestions for
I
that?
I just love connecting the breath where the inhale is active, like, and the exhale is just letting go. It's that simple for me. It's like when you love that inhale and you go for it, and you love to just relax and let go on the exhale, that's the breath to go do for an hour. And then just let whatever the breath says to do while you're doing that, then do whatever the breath guides you to do while you're doing that.
So that means that in 30 days, we need to connect back to each other and just see what's happened. And maybe we can get some comments from people about what's going on in their lives as they take this breath challenge. Now, I might offer an alternative because I love what one of my friends told me. She said, I meditate every day, and she meditates on the breath. She says, but sometimes I just can't. So I'll do 5 minutes. So there could be some extraordinary circumstance where somebody cannot
Hmm.
do that. And so I would suggest still keeping the commitment by doing a limited amount, whether it's 5 minutes
Yeah.
or 10 minutes on that day. But for the preponderance of the days, to do the 30 minute, I mean, the hour.
And it's possible to do it broken up throughout the day, where you do 10 minutes uh, every couple hours. You do 5 minutes every hour. You just take a 5 minute period every hour just to connect the breath. It's I think periods of breathing in one long hour are necessary, but short little quickies are they may be more effective for helping transform the way we relate and respond in our day-to-day reactions or relations. So,
Well, I keep losing connection. I don't know what that is. I'm connected directly to the internet, not on Wi-Fi, but maybe, we just had Hurricane Ian come through here, but it didn't do much damage, but I don't, maybe that had something to do with the water being soaked. So this may be our clue, since I keep losing the internet, that we may want to sign off.
yeah, we did good. I think we got an hour of sharing some valuable ideas in, and we could connect again maybe on 11/11 next month. And if that works, and
Yeah, yeah, 11/11. That sounds good. Yeah. I won't look at my my calendar right now. I pull my phone up to look at my calendar right now.
yeah, there
It's like
might be
it'd be a good day, and we can talk more about everything.
for sure, for sure. Thank
What
you
kind
so much for making time to share with you. I know I really appreciated this, and I think my audience did too.
Well, as we started out, I was to interview you, and then you said, "Well, let's do it on my channel." And I said, "Well, are you going to interview me, or am I going to interview you?" So I still took somewhat the role of interviewing you. That was our original intention, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you taking the time to share with us and speak with us your wisdom and your passion, your light and your love. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you.
I might mention another thing, and that is on Facebook, I do have a page that is called Abundance Affirmations. It has a tree on it with some little money, and you can go to that and look back, and it's Abundance Affirmations, but it's not just affirmations, it's prosperity ideas and so forth as well. So
So you
that,
make sure to get those links to me, because I'll put them on this video too, so that
okay,
anyone who's watching it later, they could just click right through and connect with you. Any links connected to what we brought up today, let's put them in the video.
okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, audience. Peace, y'all.